Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today, we're embarking on a deep dive into a topic that, well, it affects pretty much everyone trying to get things done. Self-discipline versus motivation. Have you ever had that huge burst of excitement for a new project? Maybe finally clearing out that nightmare inbox or picking up guitar or, starting a new fitness thing.
Oh, absolutely. We all know that feeling.
And then like a few days later, poof, the energy's just gone. And you're left wondering, where did all that amazing drive disappear to?
It's so common, isn't it? That initial feeling, it's like a superpower for a minute. You feel unstoppable. But you're right, it often feels more like a flash flood, really intense, then it just recedes. It leaves you sort of stranded.
Exactly. Stranded. That's a good word for it. And that feeling, that cycle, that's really what we're digging into today. We want to unpack why that happens. And more importantly, figure out what the more dependable way forward actually is.
Right. So the goal here is to really get under the hood of both self-discipline and motivation. See how they work, why one seems to be, well, frankly, more reliable than the other.
And crucially, how you can use both of them strategically to actually achieve what you want, whether it's like huge life goals or just managing your daily tasks better.
Yeah, think of this as your roadmap to sustained action. We're going beyond just definitions. We'll get into practical tips, some really interesting real-life stories, and even a bit of the science behind why some people seem to just nail consistency while others get stuck.
Stuck in that start-stop cycle.
Exactly. It's about moving from wishing you could do something to actually consistently doing it.
Okay, so let's start with the flashy one, motivation. What exactly is this thing? Imagine you've just watched an incredibly inspiring movie or maybe read a biography of someone amazing. Suddenly you're buzzing, ready to learn Japanese or repaint the entire house or, I don't know, write the next great novel. That feeling, that sudden surge.
That's motivation. It's that fiery burst, that feeling of I can do anything, makes you feel capable of, well, almost conquering the world.
Totally. It's like your personal hype man suddenly showed up.
Yeah, exactly. And it basically comes in two main flavors. First, you've got intrinsic motivation. This comes from inside you. It's driven by stuff like personal satisfaction, the sheer joy of learning something new or, feeling like you're growing as a person. It's the stuff you genuinely find rewarding.
Okay, so it's about the activity itself being enjoyable or meaningful.
Precisely. Then there's extrinsic motivation. This one's sparked by outside factors. Things like chasing a promotion at work, getting praise from others, maybe a hard deadline breathing down your neck.
Or even just good weather.
Yeah, even something as simple as a sunny day making you actually want to go for that run you've been putting off. So whether it's internal or external, motivation often feels very emotional, very tied to how you're feeling right then and there.
And it feels good, doesn't it? Like really good. There's a reason for that, involving our brain chemistry.
Oh, absolutely. When you get that motivational buzz, your brain releases dopamine. We often call it the feel-good chemical, but it's a bit more complex. It's heavily involved in anticipation, in seeking rewards.
So it's not just feeling good, it's wanting to get the good thing.
Exactly. It drives that pursuit. It's why starting something new often feels so exciting, so exhilarating. You feel that high after a great workout, maybe, or you see someone else achieve something cool and think, yeah, I could do that too. That's dopamine working its magic.
It's pretty intoxicating.
It really is. But, and this is the really crucial part, the kicker, so to speak. Those dopamine highs, they don't last. By their very nature, they're short-lived. It's very much like a sugar rush.
Ah, okay. Big spike, then the crash.
You got it. You get that amazing burst of energy, euphoria even, but then it fades, sometimes pretty quickly. And you're left feeling depleted, maybe even wondering why you ever thought you could, I don't know, run that marathon. The initial buzz just wears off as the novelty fades or the reward seems further away.
And that leads us straight into the big problem with relying only on motivation, right?
Definitely. That's like having that friend who's amazing fun, super enthusiastic, but completely unreliable. They say they'll be there, promise the world, then just don't show up. No explanation.
Yeah, we all know someone like that.
Motivation is kind of like that friend. It's inherently unstable. Its presence depends on so many things. You can't always control your mood, how well you slept, what's happening around you, even random thoughts. You just can't bank on it being there when things get tough or, frankly, just a bit boring.
Yeah, you can't just summon it on demand when you need to, say, finish that boring report.
Exactly. And, The research really backs this up. Studies in psychology, especially looking at long-term goals like weight loss or studying consistently, they consistently show that people who rely mostly on motivation, they're just less likely to succeed than people who focus on building habits.
Why is that gap so big?
Well, it boils down to that fleeting nature we talked about. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions fluctuate. Life isn't always exciting or inspiring. If you only take action when you feel motivated, you're going to spend an awful lot of time just waiting for the feeling to strike, which it might not.
Okay, so if motivation is the unreliable, flashy friend, let's talk about the other side of the coin, self-discipline.
Ah, yes. Self-discipline. If motivation is the hype person, then self-discipline is more like the coach, the one who makes sure you show up for practice every single day, rain or shine, whether you feel like it or not.
So it's about doing it even when you don't feel like it.
That's the absolute core of it. It's the ability to act, to do what you need to do, even and maybe especially when you'd rather be doing absolutely anything else.
Like getting up early when your bed feels amazing.
Exactly. Or choosing to work on that difficult project instead of scrolling through social media. Or sticking to your budget even when that impulse buy is calling your name. It's about making deliberate choices that align with your long-term goals, not your short-term feelings.
So it kind of bypasses the emotions.
In a way, yes. It doesn't really care how you're feeling in the moment. It's this quiet, steady force. It's not flashy. It doesn't feel like a superpower initially, but its power is in its persistence. It's incredibly enduring.
And that persistence really pays off, doesn't it? I think I read something about that, about discipline being more important than talent.
You're probably thinking of Angela Duckworth's work on grit. Her research is fascinating. She found that self-discipline and perseverance, which is basically discipline over the long haul, are actually much stronger predictors of success in various fields than innate talent or even IQ.
Wow. So it's not about being brilliant, it's about showing up.
That's the core message, really. Consistent effort, driven by discipline, simply outperforms waiting for inspiration or relying on raw ability that you don't consistently apply. Consistency is the engine. Discipline fuels it.
Okay, but let's be real. Building discipline sounds hard.
Oh, it definitely can be, especially at the start. It absolutely is like training a muscle you haven't used much. That initial effort, like choosing the work over the easy entertainment, can feel like a real struggle, an internal battle.
Yeah, the couch often wins that battle.
Right. But here's the thing. The more you practice it, the more you make those disciplined choices, the stronger that discipline muscle actually gets. And over time, those actions start to feel less effortful. They become more automatic.
Like brushing your teeth. You don't really think about it, you just do it.
Exactly. It becomes part of your routine. The key, though, is not to try and become a disciplined machine overnight. You've got to start small, ridiculously small even, and just build that momentum one little win at a time.
Okay, this sets us up perfectly for the main event, the big showdown. Motivation versus self-discipline. Let's pit them against each other round by round.
All right, let's do it. Round one, accessibility. How easy is it to get hold of them when you need them?
Okay, motivation. As we've kind of covered this. It feels like it just happens, right? A song comes on, someone says something inspiring, a deadline looms, boom, motivation appears.
Yeah, like a gift from the universe.
Yeah.
But the flip side is you can't control it. You can't just decide, okay, brain, feel motivated now. Especially not on a miserable Monday morning when you have a ton of chores waiting. Trying to force it is usually just frustrating.
And it leads to guilt, right? If you don't feel it, you don't do it, then you feel bad about not doing it.
Exactly that cycle. It's unreliable. You can't summon it reliably.
Okay, now discipline on the accessibility front.
Discipline takes effort to build initially, no doubt. But once you've started building it, it's yours. It's within your control. You don't need the perfect mood or the right external circumstances. You just decide to act. It's like having a tool in your toolbox that you can pull out whenever you need it.
Always available, even if using it takes a bit of effort.
Precisely. So for accessibility, I think the verdict is clear.
Self-discipline wins. Reliability trumps spontaneity here.
Agreed. Round one goes to discipline.
Okay, round two. Longevity. How long do they stick around?
Motivation, as we've hinted, is definitely the sprinter. It's fantastic for that initial burst. Signing up for the gym in January, perfect. Starting that exciting new creative project, awesome. But it fades, almost inevitably. Once the novelty wears off or things get a bit tough or life just happens, motivation tends to disappear. It burns out fast, which can lead to that pattern of starting things but never quite finishing them.
Always chasing the next motivational high.
Right. Now, self-discipline.
The marathon runner.
Exactly. Slow, steady, built for the long haul. Discipline is what keeps you going to the gym in February, March, and beyond, long after the New Year's resolution crowds have vanished. It fosters resilience, it keeps you going, even when progress feels slow, or, let's face it, kind of boring.
Okay, so for longevity, another win for discipline.
I'd say so. It's the enduring force. It's there when motivation packs its bags.
All right, round 3, impact on goals. How effective are they at actually getting you where you want to go?
Motivation is great for getting things started. It gets you to buy the new running shoes, download the language app, outline the business plan. It fuels the idea of achievement.
But the follow-through.
That's where it often falls short. When the tasks become repetitive or difficult or just less exciting, motivation often isn't enough to keep you pushing forward.
So it's good for starting, less good for finishing.
Pretty much. Self-discipline, though, that's the real engine for long-term achievement. It's what helps you break down those huge, scary goals into smaller, manageable steps. And crucially, it keeps you taking those steps day in, day out, even when distractions are calling or it just feels hard.
But it's the difference between dreaming and doing.
Beautifully put. It turns aspirations into actual accomplishments. So, for impact on goals.
Discipline takes it again. Seems like a bit of a knockout so far.
It does seem that way when you break it down. One more round.
Let's do it. Round 4, emotional dependence. How much do they rely on how you're feeling?
Motivation is highly sensitive to emotions. Super sensitive. If you're stressed, tired, grumpy, anxious, motivation can just evaporate instantly. Trying to capture and hold on to motivation when you're not feeling great is, well,
trying to catch lightning in a bottle.
exactly. It's incredibly difficult because feelings are so changeable, so volatile.
And discipline.
Discipline operates largely independently of your feelings. It's about commitment, not mood. You can feel completely rubbish, totally exhausted, distracted by a million other things, and discipline can still enable you to do what needs to be done. Your mental energy goes into the task, not into trying to feel like doing the task.
Wow, okay. So across the board, accessibility, longevity, impact, emotional dependence, discipline seems to come out on top.
It really does seem to be the more reliable, steadfast foundation for consistent action. It's the all-weather friend.
Does this mean motivation is useless? Should we just ignore it?
Not at all. That's the really interesting part. You don't actually have to choose. They aren't enemies. They can be an amazing team. Think of them like, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly.
Good separately, but way better together.
Exactly. They complement each other beautifully. Motivation can give you that amazing initial spark, that push to get started. And then self-discipline takes over to provide the consistency, the staying power, when that initial spark inevitably dims.
So motivation gets you off the couch, discipline keeps you moving.
Precisely. Let's use that running example again. That sudden burst of motivation gets you to buy the gear, lace up, and maybe do that first run. You feel great. I'm a runner. But it's discipline that gets you out there consistently, maybe 3 times a week, even when it's raining or you're tired or you just really don't feel like it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And here's the cool part, the feedback loop. As you consistently practice that discipline, as you keep running, you start seeing results. You get fitter, maybe faster, you feel better, and guess what? Seeing that progress can actually reignite your motivation.
So discipline can actually create more motivation down the line.
It absolutely can. The feeling of accomplishment, the visible progress that's incredibly motivating in itself, so they can work together in this really positive upward spiral.
Okay, I like that. So how do we practically make them work together? How do we harness this dynamic duo in our own lives?
Great question. First strategy, ride the motivation wave, but strategically. When you feel that surge, use it. Absolutely capitalize on it. Start that project, sign up for that class, tackle that task you've been dreading.
Strike while the iron is hot.
Exactly. But go into it knowing the feeling won't last forever. Use it to get the ball rolling, to build some initial momentum, but don't count on it to carry you all the way to the finish line.
Okay, use it as a starter booth, not the main engine. Got it. What's next?
Second, build discipline with systems. Since motivation is unreliable, you need something that is reliable. That's where systems and routines come in. Don't rely on willpower alone. Automate things.
Like how? Give me an example.
Okay, so instead of deciding if you'll write each day based on how you feel, set up a system. Every morning at 8 a.m., I sit down and write for 30 minutes, period. Or every Sunday afternoon, I prep my lunches for the week. You design your schedule and environment to make the desired action the default, reducing the need to constantly decide or rely on feeling motivated.
Make it automatic, like brushing your teeth.
Exactly. Remove the decision point as much as possible. Third strategy, Find your deeper why. Connect your actions to a meaningful purpose.
Why is that important for both?
Well, knowing why you're doing something provides powerful fuel. For motivation, it makes the initial start feel more significant. For discipline, it gives you a reason to push through when things get tough. If your goal is just get fit, that's okay. But if your goal is get fit so I have the energy to play with my kids and live a longer, healthier life.
That hits differently. It's more compelling.
Much more. That deeper purpose strengthens both the initial drive and the ongoing commitment. It answers the question, why bother when things feel difficult?
Makes sense. Okay, what's the fourth strategy?
Fourth, celebrate the small wins. Remember, we said motivation likes positive reinforcement. Discipline does too, even if quietly. Acknowledge and reward your consistency.
So give yourself a pat on the back.
Literally or figuratively, yes. When you stick to your disciplined habit for a week, give yourself a small reward. Maybe it's enjoying your favorite coffee, watching an extra episode of a show, or taking a relaxing bath.
But the reward shouldn't sabotage the goal, right?
Crucial point, yes. Don't reward your week of healthy eating with a massive pizza binge that undoes your progress. Choose rewards that align with or at least don't contradict your goals. They should reinforce the positive habit loop, not break it.
Okay, ride the wave, build systems, find your why, and celebrate wins smartly. That sounds like a solid plan for making them work together.
It really provides a framework for leveraging both motivation's spark and discipline's staying power.
Now, you mentioned science earlier. Can we geek out a bit on what's happening in our brains with all this? Why is motivation so up and down?
Yeah, let's dive in. The motivation roller coaster is closely tied to that brain chemical we mentioned. Dopamine. It's part of the brain's reward system. When you anticipate doing something rewarding or new, dopamine levels rise, giving you that feel-good, let's do this feeling.
The anticipation is key, you said.
Very key. Dopamine spikes strongly before you get the reward, driving you to seek it out. But once the novelty wears off or the reward seems less immediate or certain, the dopamine release lessens. The anticipation fades. And poof, there goes your motivation. It's why that new diet feels amazing on Monday, but less thrilling by Thursday. The initial neurochemical excitement has waned.
And external things can trigger this too, like posters or music.
Definitely. Seeing something inspiring, hearing an upbeat song, these environmental cues can give you a little dopamine hit, a temporary motivational boost. But again, it's temporary. If the cue disappears or you're just having a bad day, that externally triggered motivation often vanishes just as quickly. It's hard to sustain if you're relying on those outside triggers constantly.
Okay, so that's the shaky foundation of motivation. What about the science behind discipline's strength?
Discipline engages a different, more evolved part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. This is the bit right behind your forehead, responsible for higher level functions planning, decision-making, impulse control, long-term thinking, executive functions, basically.
The CEO of the brain.
Yeah, something like that. Unlike motivation, which is often reactive, discipline is proactive. It involves actively using your prefrontal cortex to override immediate impulses in favor of longer-term goals. It's about consciously choosing the harder, better path over the easier, less beneficial one, training that CEO muscle, if you will.
So it's about strengthening that ability to delay gratification.
Exactly. And research consistently shows that people with stronger self-discipline who are better at delaying gratification tend to have better outcomes in life, better health, finances, academic success, you name it. They can say no to the instant reward, like cake, because their prefrontal cortex is better trained to focus on the long-term reward, like health.
They've practiced prioritizing the future self over the present self.
Well said. And discipline also helps automate good behaviors through habit formation. Remember the habit loop. Cue, routine, reward.
Cue, workout clothes, routine, exercise, reward, feeling good.
Perfect example. Discipline helps embed that loop. You consistently perform the routine in response to the cue. Over time, it becomes automatic. You need less and less conscious effort, less willpower, less motivation, because the habit takes over. Your brain essentially outsources the action to a more automatic system, freeing up your prefrontal cortex for other things.
That's fascinating. So discipline actually rewires your brain to make good choices easier over time.
In essence, yes. It builds pathways that support your goals, making consistency less of a struggle.
Can we talk about some real-life examples, people who really embodied this discipline over motivation?
Absolutely. Think about J.K. Rowling. We all know the Harry Potter story now, but before that, she was a single mom dealing with depression, living on benefits. Not exactly a high motivation scenario, right?
Not at all.
Yet she had this idea, and she showed up consistently. She wrote in cafes while her baby slept. She's talked about how hard it was, how often she felt like giving up. Motivation was likely scarce, but her discipline to keep writing page by page, day by day, turned that idea into a global phenomenon. That's discipline in action against the odds.
Wow, that puts it in perspective. Who else?
Michael Phelps, the most decorated Olympian ever. Did he win 23 gold medals by feeling motivated every single day? No way. His training schedule was famously brutal.
Hours a day, every day, right, even holidays.
Exactly. 7 days a week, relentless. His coach, Bob Bowman, drilled into him the importance of routine, of consistency, regardless of feelings. Phelps himself has talked about days he hated being in the pool. But the discipline, the ingrained habit of showing up and doing the work, that's what built him into a legend. It wasn't sporadic bursts of inspiration. It was relentless, disciplined practice.
Okay, those are incredible examples, but what about, regular people? Us.
That's the most important point. You don't need to be Rowling or Phelps. Think about your own life. Have you ever finished a really difficult project at work or school when you felt totally overwhelmed?
Yeah, definitely.
Or stuck to a budget for months to save for something important, even when it meant saying no to fun stuff? Or dragged yourself out of bed early to exercise when you really didn't want to? Or consistently chose the healthy meal over the easy junk food?
Okay, yeah. I guess I have done things like that.
That right there, that's self-discipline. You already have it. You've already used it. Maybe you didn't call it that. Maybe you just thought you were pushing through. But that's the muscle we're talking about, is proof that this capacity is within you. It's not some magical trait only others possess.
That's actually quite empowering to hear. So we've established discipline is crucial. Why is relying just on motivation so problematic then? Like, what are the specific pitfalls?
Well, we touched on it, but let's crystallize it. Trying to run on motivation alone is like, yeah, that car with no gas. You might coast downhill for a bit, but you're not going far. It's great for starting, terrible for finishing.
Okay, so pitfall number 1, unpredictability.
Exactly. You can't schedule motivation. It shows up when it wants to. Some days you're on fire, other days, nothing. Discipline, however, is a choice you make. You can schedule that.
Pitfall 2, emotion-driven.
Right. Motivation needs you to feel good, feel excited. But life throws curveballs. Stress, tiredness, bad moods, they kill. Motivation, dead. It's fragile because feelings are fragile. Discipline works even when you feel lousy.
And pitfall 3, guilt induction.
Ah, yes. This is a big one. When motivation inevitably fades, and it will fade, it's so easy to blame yourself. Why can't I stick with anything? What's wrong with me? You feel guilty, maybe ashamed.
But it's not actually a personal failing.
Not at all. It's a system failure. You were relying on an unreliable tool. It's like blaming yourself because your flashy but unreliable friend didn't show up again. The problem isn't you, it's your reliance on them. People who focus on building habits through discipline, they tend to be more resilient when motivation dips because their action isn't tied to that feeling. They just keep going, maybe a bit slower, but they keep going.
Okay, that makes so much sense. So the million-dollar question. How do we actually build this discipline muscle? If it's not innate, how do we cultivate it? Step by step.
All right, let's get practical. Step 1, and this is probably the most important, start stupidly small. Forget massive heroic efforts right out of the gate.
Yeah.
That often leads to burnout and failure.
What does stupidly small look like?
Like almost embarrassingly small. Want to exercise? Don't commit to an hour at the gym. Commit to doing, say, 5 push-ups or walking around the block for 2 minutes. Want to write a book? Commit to writing 1 sentence a day.
1 sentence, really?
Yes. These are micro habits. They are so easy, it's almost impossible to say no or to fail. And each time you do it, you get a tiny win. You build confidence. You start building the identity of someone who does that thing. Remember James Clear's point. You fall to the level of your systems. Start with a system so simple you can't not do it. Momentum builds from there.
Fall to the level of your systems. I like that. It takes the pressure off willpower. Okay, start small. What's step 2?
Step 2. Remove temptations. Make discipline easier by making the alternatives harder or invisible. Engineer your environment for success.
Like getting junk food out of the house.
Exactly. If it's not there, you can't eat it impulsively. Want to focus on work? Put your phone in another room. Use website blockers. Don't rely on willpower to resist the tempting thing. Just remove the temptation altogether. It conserves your mental energy for the actual task.
Make the right choice, the easy choice. Okay, step 3.
Step 3. Use the 2-minute rule. This is brilliant for overcoming procrastination and that initial inertia. If a task feels too big or you just don't want to start, commit to doing it for only 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes.
Just 2 minutes. Need to clean the kitchen? Just clean for 2 minutes. Need to study? Just open the book and read for 2 minutes. Often the hardest part is simply starting. Once you've begun, even for just 120 seconds, you've broken the inertia, and you'll frequently find yourself continuing for much longer. It tricks your brain into getting going.
Clever. Okay, step 4.
Step 4. Plan for the slump. Accept that you won't be perfect. You will have off days, motivation will vanish, you'll feel tired, life will interfere. Plan for it.
How do you plan for a slump?
Have a backup plan. If your goal is a 30-minute workout, but you know some days are crazy busy, have a 10-minute emergency workout ready. If you struggle with focus in the afternoon, schedule your most important tasks for the morning. Anticipate the obstacles and have a predefined, easier alternative or strategy ready. Discipline isn't about perfection, it's about consistency, even if that means adjusting the intensity sometimes. It's about resilience.
Having a plan B keeps you in the game even on bad days. Love it. Step 5.
Step 5. Track your progress. This is huge for reinforcing discipline. Seeing how far you've come, seeing the streak you've built, it's incredibly motivating in itself and keeps you accountable.
Like putting gold stars on a chart.
Basically, yes. Use a journal, a habit tracking app, a simple calendar, whatever works for you. That physical act of checking off the box, seeing the chain of successful days grow, it provides visual proof of your consistency and makes you not want to break the chain. It feeds back into your commitment.
Apps like Streaks or Habitica can make this kind of fun too. Gamify it a bit.
Exactly. Make it engaging. Okay, step 6. Reward yourself smartly. Discipline shouldn't feel like punishment. Build in rewards for sticking with your habits.
We talked about this with the motivation combo. Small, aligned rewards.
Precisely. Finish your work block. Enjoy a cup of tea. Stick to your workout plan all week. Watch that movie you've been wanting to see. The reward reinforces the behavior. Just make sure, as we said, that the reward doesn't undermine the actual goal. No rewarding a salad with a donut.
Right. Reinforce, don't contradict. Okay, final step, step 7.
Step 7, and it's crucial. Practice self-compassion. You will slip up. You'll miss a day. You make a mistake. It happens to everyone. The key is how you respond.
Don't beat yourself up.
Exactly. Beating yourself up creates guilt and shame, which often leads to giving up entirely. Instead, acknowledge the slip-up without judgment, learn from it if possible, and just get back on track with the very next opportunity. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you'd offer a friend in the same situation. Research shows self-compassion actually boosts long-term discipline and resilience, while self-criticism undermines it. Get back on the horse immediately.
Start small, remove temptations, use the 2-minute rule, plan for slumps, track progress, reward smartly, and be kind to yourself. That's a really solid roadmap for building discipline.
It provides concrete actions anyone can take starting today.
Okay, for listeners who feel they're getting the hang of the basics, are there any more advanced strategies, ways to really level up their discipline game?
Oh, absolutely. Once the foundation is there, you can definitely add some more sophisticated techniques. First up, time blocking.
Scheduling everything, like literally every minute.
Not necessarily every minute, but assigning specific blocks of time in your calendar for specific tasks. So instead of a vague to-do list, you have 9.000 10.3 a.m., work on Project X, 12.30 task 1.00 p.m., respond to emails, 5.30 6.15 p.m. exercise. You treat these blocks like important appointments.
What's the benefit?
It drastically reduces decision fatigue. You don't waste mental energy figuring out what to do next. You just consult your schedule and do it. It carves out dedicated time for deep, focused work and makes it much harder to procrastinate. People like Cal Newport are huge proponents of this for productivity.
Creating appointments with your priorities. Okay, what else?
Second advanced strategy, use if-then plans, which psychologists call implementation intentions. This is about actively planning your response to anticipated obstacles or triggers.
Like the plan for the slump, but more specific.
Exactly. You formulate specific plans like, if it's 4 p.m. and I feel tired, then I will drink a glass of water and walk around for 5 minutes before deciding if I need a break.
Or,
if my friend asks me to go out on a night I plan to study, then I will politely decline and suggest we meet up on the weekend instead.
so you pre-decide your reaction.
Yes. It makes your response automatic. You don't have to rely on willpower in the moment when the temptation or obstacle appears, because you've already made the decision beforehand. Studies show this significantly increases goal achievement.
Very clever. Okay, third.
Third, environment design. We touched on removing temptations, but this goes further. Actively shaping your surroundings to make desired behaviors easier and undesired ones harder. The invisible architecture of behavior. Want to drink more water? Keep a filled water bottle on your desk at all times? Want to practice guitar more? Leave it out on a stand where you can see it, not hidden in its case?
Yeah.
Want to snack less while watching TV? Don't eat on the couch? Designate the kitchen table as the only place for meals and snacks. You make your environment nudge you towards your goals.
Making the good habits obvious and easy, and the bad habits hidden and hard.
You got it. Fourth, accountability partners. Share your goals and progress with someone else.
Why does that help discipline?
Knowing someone else is aware, maybe even checking in, adds a layer of social commitment. You don't want to let them down, or perhaps just report that you didn't do what you said you would. It could be a friend, a family member, a coach, or even an online group. Research shows that commitment increases dramatically when you have an accountability partner, sometimes by over 60–70%.
Wow, that's a huge boost just from telling someone.
It really is. And finally, fifth advanced strategy. Apply the 80-20 rule or the Pareto principle.
Focus on the vital few things that give the most results.
Precisely. Discipline is a finite resource. You can burn out if you try to be perfectly disciplined in every single area of your life all at once. Instead, identify the 20% of activities that deliver 80% of the results towards your most important goals and focus your primary disciplinary efforts there. For example, if building a business, maybe the key activities are sales calls and product development. Focus your discipline on those, even if other tasks slide a bit. It prevents spreading yourself too thin and keeps your efforts high impact.
Work smarter, not just harder, with your discipline.
Exactly. Be strategic about where you deploy it most rigorously.
Time blocking, if-then plans, environment design, accountability, 80-20 rule. Those are some powerful tools for really mastering consistency.
They really take it to the next level and making discipline feel less like a constant battle and more like an ingrained, effective system.
Now, throughout this, we've kind of positioned motivation as the less reliable partner, but let's revisit it. Does it still have any useful role to play once we're focusing on discipline?
Oh, absolutely. It's not the enemy. Remember, it's just not the star player. Think of it as a valuable strategic asset, the cherry on top, the helpful tailwind. It still has important roles.
Like what?
Well, first, as we said, it's great to kickstart new habits. Use that initial burst of enthusiasm to get things off the ground. Sign up. Buy the supplies, do the first session, leverage that energy.
Get the ball rolling.
Exactly. Second, it can boost your mood during disciplined tasks. Sometimes disciplined work can feel like a slog. A little bit of motivation can make it more enjoyable. Put on upbeat music while you clean. Visualize the successful outcome of the project you're working on. Remind yourself why you started. It can inject a bit of energy and positivity into the routine.
Make the necessary grind a little less grindy.
Precisely. And third, it can reignite your drive. Remember the feedback loop. When you track your progress, thanks to discipline, seeing those wins can genuinely spark fresh motivation. Wow, I've actually run 10K, or look how much I've saved. That feeling can fuel your discipline further. So discipline builds progress, progress sparks motivation, motivation supports continued discipline.
A positive cycle, so motivation becomes a helpful consequence and supporter of discipline rather than the thing you depend on to start.
Exactly. Use it when it shows up, enjoy it, leverage it, but don't rely on it. Let discipline be the bedrock.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's quickly tackle some common myths, things people often get wrong about discipline and motivation.
Good idea. Bust some myths.
Myth number 1, discipline means no fun. Life becomes boring and rigid.
Totally false. Discipline isn't about self-deprivation or becoming a robot. It's about making conscious choices aligned with your values and goals. You can be highly disciplined and still have tons of fun, relax, be spontaneous. It might mean scheduling fun or making sure your choices allow for enjoyment without derailing your long-term aims. It's about intentionality, not asceticism.
Okay, myth number 2, you need motivation to start anything.
Also false. As we've hammered home, action can precede motivation. You can just start doing the thing, even if you feel zero enthusiasm. Often, the motivation follows the action, not the other way around. Don't wait for the feeling, just do the first tiny step.
Myth number 3, discipline is innate. You're either born with it or you're not.
Absolutely untrue. Discipline is a skill. Like any skill, it's built through practice, consistency, and learning from mistakes. Nobody pops out of the womb with perfect self-control. Everyone can improve their discipline with deliberate effort. It's learned, not inherited.
That's a hopeful message. And myth number 4, motivation is useless. Just forget about it entirely.
Nope. Also a misconception. Motivation is useful. It's a bonus. It's the spark. It makes things feel good. Just don't make it your foundation. Use it strategically, enjoy it when it's there, but build your house on the solid rock of discipline.
Myths busted. Okay, let's maybe look at a couple more quick case studies of regular folks applying this.
Sure, let's take Sarah again with her fitness journey. Her initial attempts relied purely on motivation, big bursts of enthusiasm, then fizzling out.
Right, the common pattern.
Her shift was committing to that tiny, disciplined action. The 10-minute walk, every day, no matter what. She added accountability. The motivation waxed and waned, but the discipline built the foundation. The walks got longer naturally over time because the habit was embedded. Motivation might have cheered from the sidelines sometimes, but discipline did the heavy lifting that got her to the half marathon.
Consistency trumped intensity.
Exactly. Or Mark, with a side hustle dream. He waited for motivation, for inspiration, for the right time, which never came.
Analysis paralysis, waiting for the perfect feeling.
Right. His breakthrough was ignoring the feeling and committing to the discipline system. 20 minutes of design work, 5 days a week, tracked, scheduled via time blocking. He built a portfolio and got clients through consistent, small, disciplined actions, not waiting for a muse to strike.
The system drove the results.
Precisely. And Lisa, paying off debt, feeling overwhelmed, killed her motivation. Her discipline started small. Track spending, cut one small expense, automate payments. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't always exciting. But that relentless discipline consistency over 2 years led to massive debt reduction and freedom. Discipline chipped away at the mountain when motivation felt buried underneath it.
These stories really highlight that it's the small, consistent, disciplined steps that create big changes over time.
Absolutely. It's the compound effect of discipline.
So for listeners wanting tools to help build these habits, you mentioned some earlier habit trackers like Habitica or Streaks.
Yes, those are great for visualization and streaks. For task management and productivity, apps like Todoist, Notion, Trello can help organize and prioritize.
And for focus, Pomodoro timers, website blockers like Freedom.
Excellent choices for minimizing distractions and creating focused work blocks. And don't forget books, Atomic Habits, Grit, The Power of Habit. They offer fantastic deep dives.
And accountability groups, online communities, or local meetups.
Huge potential there for support and staying on track. Leverage the tools that resonate with you.
Okay, one last thing before we summarize. What about common roadblocks? People try to build discipline, but things get in the way, like procrastination.
Big one. Strategies. Break tasks down even smaller. Use the 2-minute rule. Just start. Often, procrastination is fear of the whole task. Make the first step tiny.
Burnout. Trying too hard to be disciplined.
Absolutely. Discipline needs rest. Schedule downtime. Don't try to be 100% disciplined 100% of the time. Sustainable effort includes recovery. Listen to your body and mind.
A lot of clarity. Not sure what to be disciplined about.
Revisit your why. What truly matters to you. Set clear, meaningful goals. Discipline is easier when you know the purpose behind the effort. Get clear on the destination first.
And just distractions.
Yes.
Life getting in the way.
Environment design helps here. Minimize digital noise. Set boundaries. Communicate your needs to others. Protect your focus time as much as possible. It's an ongoing battle, but conscious effort makes a difference.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, the final verdict in this deep dive. Self-discipline versus motivation.
I think the evidence is pretty clear. For long-term, consistent achievement, self-discipline is the undisputed champion. Motivation is the sparkler, bright, exciting, but short-lived. Discipline is the slow-burning log fire, providing steady warmth and energy over the long haul.
Motivation ignites, discipline sustains.
Perfectly put. They work best together, as we discussed, but if you have to rely on one, discipline is the one that will actually get you there. It's the engine.
And the empowering part is everyone can build this. It's not magic.
Not at all. It starts with those tiny steps, repeated consistently, and crucially, being kind to yourself when you inevitably stumble. Whether you want to write a novel, get fit, learn a skill, or just manage your life better, discipline is the key. It turns someday into concrete daily action.
So maybe a final thought for everyone listening. What's one tiny disciplined step you can take, like right now after hearing this?
Great prompt. Maybe it's literally writing one sentence, or doing 5 push-ups, or putting your phone away for the next 10 minutes to focus on something important, or scheduling just one 15-minute block in your calendar for tomorrow to work on a goal.
Something small, something actionable right now.
Exactly. Don't wait for motivation. Just take that first tiny disciplined step. You have the capacity. Start now.
Discipline. It might not be glamorous, but it seems it really is the key to unlocking your potential.
Couldn't agree more. Now go make things happen. Consistent action wins.
Fantastic. Well, if you found this deep dive insightful and helpful, please do remember to like, share, and subscribe to our Learn English Lab YouTube channel. We'll be back with more deep dives soon.